Colin Patterson, Mike Lownsbrough. I want to ask you, is there enough personality in the NHL? Because I think it's kind of flat. And the reason I bring this up, because I was talking to the Flames PR the day that Los Angeles was in. So you got Doughty and you got Tkachuk. And that's what everybody was talking about. And you had to watch the game. I had to watch that game. I was hoping they'd go for it. It was exciting. It was like the old days.
Yeah.
But there's not enough of that.
Yeah, I think, part of it is that the way that media is, but it's not just the media, it's people, everybody's in the media now. So, if guys are out or they're doing something away from the rink, people are filming them, they want to get a picture of them, they want to get them doing something wrong so they can exploit that. So I think that sort of carries on for the guys in the game too. I think when you look at, the Tkachuk and Doughty thing, it was great. It was a lot of excitement, but it's also creating that rivalry.
Sure.
Which I think we're missing a lot of the rivalry stuff where you're playing guys a lot and you get a real hatred for them. And we're missing that in the game too, because the times you're playing teams are so spread out. You don't have a day when you're playing, or a year when you're playing Edmonton 8 times, Winnipeg 8 times, Vancouver 8 times, LA 8 times. You're only playing them 4, maybe 5 times, and it's so spread out throughout the year that sometimes those rivalries and those those personal rivalries too dissipate.
When opposing teams would always come into town, you always wanted to try and talk to their personalities because they were big. And Tiger Williams, fortunately from Saskatchewan, he would talk to me. He wouldn't talk to everybody else. And he always had something gold. I mean, he's not politically correct all the time, but he was always entertaining. And, you went to those kind of personalities, I remember Charlie Simmer when he was with LA, and they had some great guys that were fun to be with. Certain teams were more fun to talk to than others, right?
Absolutely.
So I miss those guys.
Yeah, and I think the game misses those personalities. And I think they probably do have the personalities within the dressing room, but guys are really leery about taking that outside the dressing room. Because, either you're, a bigot or racist, an extremist, people take stuff and they just, use it in however they want. And you know what it's like now, and, everybody can adapt film and change film and, ask a question and maybe you answer it a certain way and then they change a question on you, on the internet. And so those things can really impact a guy and a player.
That's too bad, because I don't like the Antonio Browns.
No.
I mean, he's just an asshole. But you want those bigger personalities, like John Gruden. You don't think he knows how to play the camera? You don't think he knows how to get the fans on his side? I mean, that's a big personality. And to see what he's doing with the Raiders now is proof of that. So, that is what you need in sports, I think.
Yeah, you need that because it makes it exciting, right?
Yeah.
You want to go see that game. You want to see those personalities, and you want to hear them. You want to see them interviewed. Problem now is you get the same guys interviewed all the time. Not that you didn't back in the day, but, even when other guys, third or fourth line guys or, players that were sort of on the bubble would get interviewed, they were still, interesting interviews.
I'll still. Flames are playing back-to-back, Friday, Saturday. I was on alone, and I phoned Mike Burke. I believe it was Mike Burke.
Yeah.
And I said, Mike, just give me somebody exciting. Not Robert Reichel. So who do I get? Robert Reichel. Okay, so Friday night, Saturday night, I just want somebody. Make sure it's not Robert Reichel. Who do I get? Robert Reichel. And it's just like talking to a stick. I mean, I need that personality. You want that personality to drive the game, to make the interviews more interesting.
And I mean, Robert Reichel's a great guy. Obviously, he came over. It was the language barrier was an issue too for him, right? Until he got the language down. It'd be tough. Like I couldn't imagine going to, Czechoslovakia and then having to go on TV and speak Czech, right? So when you
just make it up.
And which I could do, by the way. But those are, But when you think about all the personalities that were in the game and the guys that are in the game now, as I said, I think in the dressing room there's probably similarities to it. Yeah. But as soon as you step out, it becomes tougher.
They're guarded, aren't they?
Yeah,
and they're controlled somewhat too, aren't they?
Yeah, and I mean, back in the day when you think about it, you could go talk to anybody. Now they can't. Now they got to whether they're sitting in a room waiting for something like this where people come up to the podium and they talk and they ask questions versus guys going around the dressing room just asking people. I remember once Ed Whalen was somehow he had something. He had to wheel out of the dressing room for a minute. He said, "Do you mind asking the questions? Can you get Gary Roberts?" I said, "Sure." So there I am on the other side of the mic asking. You know, I go, "It was great."
Oh, that's
But, yeah.
I don't want to come across like we're the old guys sitting up, like the Muppets, those two old guys criticizing everything.
Yeah. But we are.
We are. But when you guys played, and when you played the Oilers, there was an excitement in that rink, and there was an excitement in the town, the build-up, the anticipation. I've only seen one of those games nowadays. That was last year when Luch and Smith went at it.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting that they're on opposite teams this year. You know, and it'll be interesting when they play in the regular season what happens, because I'm excited about that game. I'm looking forward to those games. Now, you know, you look forward to the LA playing, where maybe in the last few years you weren't really interested in LA, but because of Doughty and Tkachuk, you know, their little rivalry and spat, it makes it interesting. So it'll be really neat to see the Oilers and the Flames play from the dynamics of, you know, there's 3 Oilers on the team now, you know, that weren't there last year. You got Talbot, you've got Lucic, and you got Tobias Ryder.
Right.
And then on the other side, you've got, you know, James Neal, and you got Mike Smith. And Mike Smith has been a real, I think, you know, as good as Neal's been for him, I think Mike Smith's been equally as impressive, because he's a great guy. He's good in the dressing room, and he's a hard worker, you know, and and he's a great goalie. Still got a lot of athleticism to him.
Do you think the Flames panicked a little bit with that trade?
I'm not sure, you know, because you don't know what happens behind the scenes. So it's tough to say. And at the time you go, okay, you know, when you look at James Neal and you look at, Milan Lucic, you go, you know, Flames needed some toughness and some grit, and, you know, Oilers need some scoring. So it makes sense. You always hate, you know, back in our day, you never traded within division, let alone conference, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's what you hated. I remember when Kent Nielsen got traded to Minnesota, you know, everybody was afraid he might come back to haunt you. And then Minnesota trades him to Edmonton. And we're all up, everybody was up in arms, remember? You know, Calgary, how could that happen? You know, we got to make sure that never happens again. And now they freely trade within, you know, divisions.
Luch does give that toughness, and you saw it in the game where he got suspended. That young kid kind of learned a lesson the hard way, didn't he?
Well, yeah, and I go, you know, you hack somebody's goalie, and Badger always, he said it the best. He goes, somebody touches your goalie, it's like somebody touching your wife. You better do something about it. I always said, you know what? I never slept with our goalie. Not that there'd be anything wrong with that. But you know, you had to do something, right? You had to go and, you know, it didn't matter who it was. You had to go in there. And that's, you know, I mean, these young kids today, you know, they're not used to that. And I love what Milan did. I go, there should be more of that.
Yeah.
And guys won't come around hacking your goalie anymore. And that was part of the problem last year when he and Smith got into it. I go, there's nobody to protect my Smith out there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. You know, you just got to jump in there, whether you're a fighter or not. You got to jump in there and tackle the guy. And even if you get pounded, that's where the team toughness comes into.
Well, hypothetically, about that goalie situation, who would be more attractive, Vernon or Reggie Lemelin to you?
You know, that'd be tough. It's a coin toss there. Hopefully the coin would be spinning for a while.
So you can get out of the room.
But they're both damn good-looking men.
Yes, they're handsome young men.